Each of those missions represents a host of firsts that have helped shape this generation of spaceflight. To fully appreciate the progress being made together with SpaceX and NASA, it's worth noting that Axiom Space's 3 missions to date have helped provide greater access for nations and researchers, setting new precedents for private astronaut efforts aboard the International Space Station. And AX-4 adds to that growing flight heritage.
After a successful liftoff and orbital insertion, the AX-4 crew are set to rendezvous and dock with the International Space Station tomorrow. They'll spend approximately 14 days aboard the orbiting laboratory, bringing the occupancy count up to 11.
And over the last 10 months, this crew has been working with instructors to learn every system they will be working with on station. They have studied and practiced every experiment, reviewed and rehearsed every event, all to maximize that time in space. Collectively, this crew is undertaking the largest quantity of research efforts of any Axiom space mission to date, with over 60 research activities on their timeline, representing 31 different countries. Missions like these continue to expand what is possible and set the stage for even greater opportunities to come.
Then, at the conclusion of their time on station, the crew will participate in a closing farewell ceremony and begin their preparations for the journey back to Earth. As we've mentioned a couple of times, that'll be about 14 days from today.
Each mission to the International Space Station is rooted in singular unifying purpose, to explore and learn together as a team. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about human spaceflight. The International Space Station is a symbol of what can be realized from international cooperation and collaboration. And so while this particular mission may represent the goals of 4 specific nations, today they are launching as one crew, one team. And in that spirit, this crew created a mark to represent their shared effort together. The AX-4 mission patch is something that Peggy, Shooks, Swavush, and Tibor will wear proudly for the rest of their lives. But so will thousands of people who've worked tirelessly to contribute to this mission.
The mission patch for Axiom-4 was created, as you mentioned, by the crew, not just to mark their space flight, but to symbolize the idea that space is for everyone. Anchored by the centrality of the Earth and flanked by a diverse set of national flags, there are several intended meanings woven into this design. For instance, the 7 stars represent the 7 continents and point to global inclusivity.
The 4 white lines ascending from the Earth to the International Space Station symbolize the physical journey of this mission, and together appear to make panes of a spacecraft window, much like the view the astronauts will have from Earth orbit. And the overall gem shape of the patch is a reminder of the precious responsibility we all have to our planet, to cherish and to protect our homeworld. And in addition to the mission patch, another favorite tradition of human spaceflight is the zero-G indicator. To celebrate their unique bond, the AX-4 crew chose a baby swan as the zero-G indicator, which they've named Joy. And today, we have the opportunity to have our very own Joy joining us to help us keep an eye on the gravity levels here in Hawthorne. And so far, pretty stable.
Yeah, all systems nominal, I would say.
Very, very nominal. Yes.
So as we await our T-0 in a little bit more than 25 minutes, our ground operations teams are doing a final series of systems checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. Let's take a look at what the ascent portion of our mission today will look like.
Start of Stage 2 cryohelium loading.
Brief announcement on Stage 2 loading. Once we hit T0, we're going to watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent. At about 43 seconds into flight, Falcon 9's engines will throttle down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer to as max Q. Now, it's worth noting that shortly after we hit max Q, the vehicle will go supersonic, faster than the speed of sound.
Once we're through that period of maximum dynamic pressure, we throttle up our Merlin engines again. From there, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that happen in rapid succession. The first is main engine cutoff, also called MECO. This is where all 9 Merlin engines shut off in preparation for stage separation. Stage sep is when the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to Earth for landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event.
Now, SES-1, or second stage engine start number 1, That's where the Merlin vacuum engine lights up and propels the second stage along with our AX-4 crew and Dragon into orbit. Now, as Stage 2 heads into the targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 3 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the boost back burn, where 3 of the Merlin 1D engines reignite and then shut down. That heads the first stage back to Cape Canaveral.
The second burn, or the entry burn, helps to slow the first stage down in preparation for entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. About 70 seconds before Dragon reaches orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn will bring the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to land back on land near the launch site, shortly before 8 minutes into our mission.
And then a little less than a minute after that, at T plus 8 minutes, 48 seconds, the second stage will cut off its one Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. That concludes a burn that lasts just over 6 minutes to get into orbit, but we'll wait to hear confirmation of insertion into a good orbit. Then Dragon and the second stage begin preparations to separate Dragon. About 51 seconds after we get into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with the 4-person crew drifting away in Dragon, moving away from the second stage. Once Dragon's a short distance away, it'll begin checkout of the Draco maneuvering thrusters. That'll make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage.
The nose cone deploy sequence will initiate just before T plus 12 minutes and finish around T plus 15 minutes, exposing Dragon's docking mechanism in advance of arrival at the International Space Station. Speaking of which, we should hand it back now to Sandra Jones at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas, for a quick update. Sandra?
Thanks, Ronnie. The space station team here in Houston is focused on the critical systems of the International Space Station, all continuing to function as expected ahead of launch. Everything is looking good, and the station will be ready to receive Dragon and the Axiom-4 crew on Thursday. After Dragon is fully docked to the orbiting laboratory, the team here in Houston will assist the Axiom space and space station astronauts with leak checks as they work to open hatches on both Dragon and inside the station's pressurized mating adapter. We expect hatch opening to take place approximately 2 hours after docking. Once the Axiom-4 crew arrives at the International Space Station, they will be greeted by the Expedition 73 crew, which includes NASA astronauts Nicole Ayers, Anne McClain, and Johnny Kim, as well as JAXA, or Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Takoya Onishi, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Kirill Peskov, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zubritsky. Flight Director Heidi Brewer is on console right now, leading the flight controllers for launch this evening. And with Mission Control in Houston go for launch, for now, we'll send it back over to Sonia at Kennedy.
Thanks, Sandra. To dive into some of the science highlights, I'm joined now by Axiom Space's Chief Scientist, Dr. Lucy Lowe. Lucy, thanks for joining me here at the desk. With so many science portfolios that are going to be accomplished. There are more than 60 from more than 30 countries. We can't cover it all. Give us a high-level look of what this portfolio looks like.
Yeah, so happy to, Sonia. So this mission is chock-a-block, jam-packed, full of really interesting and exciting science. We have everything from human research, understanding how the human body reacts to space. We have some really fun life sciences experiments looking at growing plants and all kinds. We have some physical sciences. We have lots of technology demonstrations. And my favorite, lots of science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics outreach events.
All the STEAM things.
Exactly.
So we've had great success with AX1, 2, 3. Do we have any return payload flyers for AX4?
We do. We have our partners at the University of California, San Diego and the Sanford Stem Cell Institute flying their cancer cells in low Earth orbit for the 4th time with Axiom. So this team is actually looking at how the cancer cells respond to space. And on this mission, they're actually testing a newly approved drug that's just about to enter clinical trials.
Amazing.
So really exciting.
So let's take just a brief look at each of the country's portfolios. Let's start at the head.
At the top, okay, off we go. So we're going to bring on our willing participant who is going to model, our lovely assistant who is going to model one of the experiments from this portfolio. So Israel here is wearing a functional near-infrared spectroscopy cap, which has optodes in the top, which can actually look at how blood is moving around, which is a correlate for neural activity. So it's a way to actually monitor brain activity in space. And what the team is doing is looking at these signals and how they're going to collect the data. And they're actually creating what they're calling a brain-computer computer interface or a brain-machine interface, which could be really interesting and useful not only for future exploration missions, but also for applications back here on Earth.